Okay, it's hard to follow that one up. But we have John Wathen. John Wathen is a local hero and environmental activist. He is called the Hurricane Creek Keeper, and he keeps industrial corporations and state agencies on their toes. John is an Alabama native who grew up on the Black Warrior River and later served in the United States Navy. After being exposed to toxic chemical poisoning in his industrial day job, John eventually moved to become an environmentalist. In 1997, he helped fund the Friends of Hurricane Creek. The organization became an official part of the Waterkeeper Alliance in 2005, and John was named the Hurricane Creek Keeper. He has been a strong watchdog, educator, and activist for Hurricane Creek, as well as many other important environmental causes. Most recently, he protested alongside the Standing Rock Sioux tribe in North Dakota to oppose the construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. John Wathen is truly a living legend.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Wathen, and I am your Hurricane Creek Keeper. I tell people that because Hurricane Creek is a waterway of the United States. It belongs to each and every one of us as a collective. It doesn't belong to the industrial fat cats that would turn it into a waste conduit without adequate advocacy. That's my job as the Hurricane Creek Keeper. I am the enforcement and advocacy branch of the Friends of Hurricane Creek. Over the years, I've seen a creek that was biologically dead come back to life. The way we did that is that we fought the coal companies that were dumping this acidified water into the creek. We fought the developers who were not using the proper best management practices to keep the sedimentation out of our waterways. We fought the fracking companies that had the wells up there that were draining into the watershed. We did this all based on science. You can't deny the science of a waterway. We started by picking up litter out of the creek. After we got the litter out, I noticed there weren't any fish. And to me, it's not a healthy stream if it doesn't have fish. Something was wrong. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even have a high school education. But I'm not so stupid that I can't see a creek that's not healthy. I've been in the water all my life, just like most of you here. Where is Richard Shelby on this? Richard Shelby, like so many other politicians, I am not going to get up on a political stump. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I am an American. I vote for who's going to hurt me the least. And that's a crying shame in this country today. Our political leaders deny science on a regular basis. And unfortunately, Mr. Shelby is renowned for that. He is a yes man. He says yes to all of the extraction technologies that donate thousands and thousands of dollars, if not millions, to his political campaign. It's time that we, the people, change that. This is our country. It doesn't belong to the polluters. They talk about jobs. All my career, I've heard people weigh the environment against jobs, and that is so wrong. The jobs are still there. It's just going to have to shift a little bit. When I was a boy, my brother ran the first computer at Liberty National Life Insurance. It took up 2 whole floors of the building and had to be refrigerated. It had a staff of people nearly this big to punch on little cardboard cards to make that computer do calculations. You can do more today with the cell phone that's in your hand. So don't tell me that renewable energies are impossible. It's time to start saying no to some of these extraction permits. The permits that I fight and have to, it's a struggle to hold these polluters accountable, even under the permits that have been issued to them. These permits are bogus. They're not based on true science. And now, like I said, I'm not going to get political, but I will say that under this administration since January, I've already seen a rollback in environmental law that's going to set us back 20 years. We're going to have to relitigate cases that we litigated 20 years ago because of the politics that denies climate change and denies environmental responsibility. It's time for us as Americans to make them change these politics. And if the elected officials won't change the politics, it's time to change the politicians. That's our job. We have a responsibility to the next 7 generations to make sure that this earth is inhabitable. It's up to us to make sure that if our politicians will not do the job to protect us as they should, that they're replaced with someone who will. Yes, and the way you do that is people in this crowd today, you need to be running for office. You need to be running for your city council. You need to be running for your county commission. These lower political offices are where some of the most powerful politics in America are made today. We need those seats. We need our people driving the environmental atmosphere in this country, because if we don't, we're doomed. Yeah. Dr. E.O. Wilson told me standing on Hurricane Creek several years ago. This was back in, I think it was 1998 or so. He said then that climate change has already gone past the tipping point. And if humanity is going to survive, we will have to mutate in order to make it in the coming environmental climate. That's wrong, folks. I get in a lot of trouble with some of my constituents because I'm one of those that don't believe climate change was created by man. I think it's a natural cyclonic event. But we are exacerbating it on a daily basis exponentially. Every time we open up a new coal mine, not only does that fossil fuel have to be burned, the coal ash disposed of, the air toxified, but the simple opening of that mine releases megatons of greenhouse gases. The explosions that they set off daily in those mines produce more gases than all of the automobiles you see around you today. They're using more explosives right now. We've already used more explosives in Appalachia, tearing down the tops of those mountains, than we used during the entire Vietnam conflict. All for a fossil fuel that is in decline, and it's not about the jobs. The industry has done more to hurt their own job market by advancing their technology to replace men with huge drag lines that tear down whole mountains, or longwall mine machines that completely gut what's left of the mountains. We didn't take those jobs away. They took them away from themselves. More jobs have been lost through the industry itself than through all of the environmental regulations that have ever been written. So to weigh our environmental climate against jobs is ludicrous. Yep. And if these politicians won't change the politics that makes this happen, then we have to change the politicians. This is America, and all of us have an equal voice. I don't care what your color, what your creed, or who you may date. We all have a voice. We all live in a country that's supposed to be free, and we're not. Our rights are being suppressed at an abnormal rate. Our right to clean air is being taken away for the sake of some fat cat making a higher bottom line profit margin. Our clean water is being taken away from us on a daily basis, and it's going to get worse. The very laws that I used to bring Hurricane Creek back from the extinction, from the brink of extinction, those very laws have already been reversed, and we're not even in 100 days of this administration yet. We have to make these politicians change the politics, or we have to change the politicians. I'm John Wathen. I'm your Hurricane Creek keeper, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, John. So how do we change those politicians?
Vote!
Vote! Vote! If there's anybody here not registered, what? Well, yes, I'll get to that. If there's anybody